Welcome to Better Self Audiobooks. Hey friend, listen up. Right now, at this exact moment, you're standing at a crossroads. And I'm not talking about some poetic, philosophical crossroads. I'm talking about a real, raw, life-defining moment where you have to make a choice. You can either break down and let life crush you into dust, or you can rise up and become so unstoppable that the entire world couldn't hold you back, even if it tried. And here's the thing most people don't realize. The power to make that choice? It's already inside you. It's been there all along. You don't need to find it somewhere out there. You don't need permission from anyone. You just need to wake it up. Today, in this audiobook journey we're about to take together, we're going to do exactly that. We're going to ignite that sleeping giant inside you. This isn't just another motivational talk you'll forget by tomorrow morning. This is a complete mindset revolution. Focus on you until you win. Let those words sink in. This isn't just a catchy title. This is a philosophy. This is a way of life that can transform everything you thought you knew about success, happiness, and what you're truly capable of. If you're struggling right now, if you're exhausted, confused, if you've failed so many times that you're starting to believe maybe success just isn't meant for you, then stop right there. This message is specifically for you, because the next hour isn't just going to change your life. It's going to rewire how you think about yourself and your potential. In the next few minutes, you're going to discover something powerful. You're going to learn why the most successful people in the world work on themselves before they even think about competing with others. You're going to understand why winners don't burn themselves out comparing their Chapter 1 to someone else's Chapter 20. You're going to see why truly unstoppable people refuse to quit until victory is lying at their feet, begging for mercy. But most importantly, you're going to learn how to light that fire inside yourself, that unquenchable flame that forces you to move forward no matter what obstacles stand in your way. Think about this for a second. What if you decided today to focus just 1% more on yourself every single day? Where would you be in 365 days? Probably exactly where you've been dreaming of being for years, maybe even further. But here's what most people don't tell you. The most dangerous person in the world isn't the one with the most resources, the best connections, or even the most talent. The most dangerous person is the one who has recognized their true power. And this audiobook? It's about to show you yours. So I need a promise from you right now. Don't skip through this. Don't let this be background noise while you scroll through social media. I need your full attention, because here's what's going to happen. The beginning will change how you think. The middle will transform your habits, and by the end, your entire mindset will have shifted so dramatically that you won't recognize the person you were when you pressed play. If you make one decision today, just one, make it this. Yes, I'm going to focus on myself until I win. No excuses, no distractions, no giving up. That single decision could make this audiobook the turning point of your entire life. So take a deep breath. Clear your mind. Get comfortable, because you're about to embark on the most powerful journey of your life. The next hour belongs to your growth, your victory, and your dreams. And hey, if this message hits home, if you feel something shifting inside you, do me a favor, like this video. Subscribe to the channel, because there's so much more coming your way, and you don't want to miss it. All right, let's begin your real journey. The journey where you learn one critical truth that changes everything. No matter what the world says, no matter what happens around you, your focus stays on you until you win. Let's dive deep. Chapter 1. Discover who you really are. Every massive transformation in life begins with one simple thing: self-awareness. It starts when a person finally stops running from themselves and decides to look in the mirror, really look, and ask, who am I? Not who does the world want me to be, not who my parents expect me to be, not who my friends think I should be, but who am I, really? Yet most people spend their entire lives doing the exact opposite. They chase approval. They try to become carbon copies of people they admire. They twist themselves into shapes that don't fit, all to make other people happy. And in the end, they end up completely disconnected from their true selves. Here's the biggest lesson of Chapter 1. If you want to win, if you want to grow, if you want to become great, you have to start by knowing yourself. And I'm talking about really knowing yourself, not the filtered Instagram version, but the raw, unpolished truth. Now, knowing yourself isn't comfortable. It's not some peaceful meditation where everything feels nice and warm. Self-discovery is brutal. It's painful, because it forces you to face your fears, your weaknesses, your failures, and the lies you've been telling yourself. It hurts. But that pain, that's where the strength comes from. Think about it. Every day, you're bombarded with images of other people's lives. What they're wearing, what they're buying, where they're traveling, what they're achieving. And your brain, without you even realizing it, starts comparing. You start measuring your worth against someone else's highlight reel. But here's the shift. When you start looking at yourself instead of everyone else, that's when real growth begins. Let me tell you about Marcus. Marcus was a guy who spent 5 years trying to build someone else's dream. He saw his college roommate start a tech company, so he tried to start one too, even though he hated coding. He saw an influencer get rich from real estate, so he forced himself into property investing, even though numbers made his head spin. 5 years. 5 years of chasing other people's paths. And where did it get him? Burned out, broke, and bitter. Then, one day, Marcus did something radical. He shut off his phone for an entire weekend. No Instagram, no LinkedIn, no success stories from people he barely knew. And he asked himself one honest question. What do I actually want? Not what looks cool, not what makes money fastest, not what impresses people at parties. What did Marcus, the real Marcus, buried under all those layers of comparison and expectation, actually want? The answer surprised him. He wanted to teach. He'd always loved explaining things, breaking down complex ideas, helping people understand. But he'd buried that passion because it didn't seem impressive enough. 6 months after that weekend, Marcus started a YouTube channel teaching financial literacy to teenagers. 2 years later, he'd built a 6-figure business doing what he loved. But more than that, he finally felt like himself. That's what self-discovery does. It strips away all the noise and reveals what's actually true. This chapter teaches us something profound. Inside you, there are 2 people constantly fighting for control. One is the person who gives up when things get hard. The person who believes the negative voices. The person who thinks, maybe I'm just not meant for success. The other is the person who takes every failure as a lesson and stands back up stronger. The person who refuses to accept defeat. The person who says, I don't care how many times I fall. I'm getting back up every single time. Your success depends entirely on which person you choose to be more often. When you start knowing yourself, really knowing yourself, you begin to understand what your real strength is. And here's the truth bomb. What other people think about your worth doesn't matter, not even a little bit. The only question that matters is, what do you think your worth is? The world will tell you that you can't do it. People will doubt you. They'll laugh at your dreams. They'll say you're being unrealistic. But when you truly know yourself, your soul responds with power. I can do this, and I've already started. The first step to knowing yourself is being brutally honest with yourself. Ask yourself these questions. What do I actually want? Not what I think I should want. Not what would make my family proud. What do I want? Am I fighting for my own dreams, or am I just lost in the crowd trying to fit in? Am I improving myself every single day, or am I just trying to become like people I think are ahead of me? These questions hurt. They're supposed to, because real growth starts with real honesty. This chapter reminds us that the path to any destination doesn't start outside. It starts within. Respect yourself. Value your decisions. Appreciate your effort. Because when you give yourself value, the world starts valuing you too. Remember this. Every successful person showed their strength to themselves before they showed it to the world. Your real victory begins when you tell yourself, yes, I'm taking control of my life. Knowing yourself is the first step to winning. And the moment you take that step, the entire direction of your life changes. Now, let me ask you something. When was the last time you sat down and really thought about who you are? Not who you're trying to be, not who you were 5 years ago, but who you are right now in this moment. Most people can't answer that question, and that's terrifying. Because if you don't know who you are, how can you possibly know where you're going? Let me tell you about Sarah. Sarah worked in corporate America for 12 years. 12 years of climbing ladders, attending meetings, wearing uncomfortable shoes, and pretending to care about quarterly reports. Everyone thought she had it made. Good salary, benefits, respected position. But Sarah was dying inside. Every morning, she'd look in the mirror and not recognize the person staring back at her. She'd become so good at being what her company needed that she'd forgotten who Sarah actually was. One Tuesday afternoon, sitting in yet another pointless meeting, something inside her snapped. Not in a bad way, in a liberating way. She realized she'd spent 12 years building someone else's dream, while her own dreams collected dust in the corner of her mind. That evening, Sarah did something she hadn't done in years. She pulled out an old journal from college and read her 22-year-old self's dreams. She wanted to write. She wanted to travel. She wanted to help people tell their stories. It took her 2 years of side hustles and saving, but Sarah eventually left corporate. Today, she's a travel writer who helps small businesses tell their brand stories. She makes less money than she did in corporate. But you know what? She wakes up excited every single morning. That's the power of knowing yourself. But here's where it gets real. Knowing yourself also means accepting the parts of yourself you don't like. The lazy parts, the scared parts, the parts that want to quit when things get difficult. You can't change what you don't acknowledge. I'm going to be straight with you. You have weaknesses. We all do. Maybe you're inconsistent. Maybe you get distracted easily. Maybe you sabotage yourself right when things start going well. Maybe you have a voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough. Acknowledge it. Own it. Because that's the only way to change it. Think of it like this. You can't fix a leak in your house if you pretend the leak doesn't exist. You have to find it, acknowledge it, and then fix it. Your personal growth works the same way. When you know your weaknesses, they lose their power over you. When you hide from them, they control everything you do. Let me share something personal. For years, I struggled with consistency. I'd start projects with massive enthusiasm, work on them intensely for 3 weeks, then completely abandon them. I had a graveyard of half-finished projects, websites that never launched, books that never got past chapter 3, business ideas that fizzled out before they even started. And for the longest time, I blamed external factors. I told myself I didn't have enough time. I convinced myself the ideas weren't good enough. I found a million excuses. But the truth? The real truth? I was afraid of finishing things because finishing meant people could judge the final product. As long as everything stayed in progress, I never had to face potential criticism or failure. Once I acknowledged that about myself, once I got honest about my fear, I could start addressing it. I created systems to keep myself accountable. I shared my goals publicly so backing out would be embarrassing. I broke big projects into tiny pieces so they felt less overwhelming. Did it work perfectly? No. I still struggle sometimes. But acknowledging the problem took away its hidden power over me. That's what knowing yourself does. It brings everything into the light where you can actually deal with it. Here's another critical piece. Knowing yourself means understanding your values. What actually matters to you? Not what you think should matter, not what matters to your parents or your partner or your best friend. What matters to you? For some people, it's family. For others, it's freedom. For some, it's creating something meaningful. For others, it's helping people. For some, it's adventure and new experiences. There's no right answer. There's only your answer. But here's the problem. Most people adopt other people's values without realizing it. They chase money because society says that's what success looks like, even though they don't actually care about being rich. They pursue prestigious careers because that's what their family expects, even though prestige means nothing to them. And then they wonder why success feels empty when they achieve it. If your ladder is leaning against the wrong wall, it doesn't matter how fast you climb. You'll just get to the wrong place quicker. So ask yourself, what do I actually value? If I had all the money I needed, what would I spend my time doing? When I'm 80 years old, looking back on my life, what will I wish I had done more of? What makes me feel alive? These aren't easy questions. They require real thought, real reflection. But they're essential because they reveal your true north. They show you which direction you should actually be heading. Let me tell you about James. James grew up in a family of doctors. His father was a surgeon. His mother was a pediatrician. His older sister was in medical school. Everyone just assumed James would become a doctor too. So that's what he did. He got into a good pre-med program. He studied hard. He took the MCAT. He got accepted to medical school. And then, 2 weeks before classes started, James had a complete breakdown. Not because medical school was too hard, but because he realized he'd spent 6 years preparing for a career he didn't actually want. What James actually valued was creativity and making things with his hands. He loved building furniture. He loved the smell of wood and the satisfaction of creating something tangible. But he'd ignored that part of himself because it didn't fit the family narrative. It took courage, but James didn't go to medical school. Instead, he apprenticed with a master carpenter. Today, he runs a custom furniture business. His pieces sell for thousands of dollars. More importantly, he loves what he does. His family was disappointed at first, but eventually they saw how alive he became when he aligned his life with his actual values. That's what this chapter is really about. It's about having the courage to look at yourself honestly, accept what you find, and then build a life that matches who you actually are, not who you think you're supposed to be. Because here's the ultimate truth. You can't win someone else's race. You can only win your own. And you can't even start your own race until you know who you are and what winning actually means to you. So take some time, turn off the noise, sit with yourself, ask the hard questions, face the uncomfortable truths, Because everything, and I mean everything, starts here. Self-knowledge is power. Self-awareness is strength. Self-acceptance is freedom. And once you have those three things, you become unstoppable. Chapter 2. Eliminate distractions, or they'll eliminate your dreams. Now that you're starting to understand who you really are, let's talk about the biggest threat to your success. It's not lack of talent. It's not bad luck. It's not even failure. The biggest enemy of your success is distraction. And I'm not just talking about your phone buzzing or Netflix autoplay, although those are part of it. I'm talking about the deeper distractions, the ones that masquerade as legitimate concerns, the ones that feel important but actually drain your energy and steal your focus. Let me be brutally honest with you. Most people fail not because they can't do the work, but because they can't maintain focus long enough to see results. They start strong. They have a goal. They know what they want. But then, life happens. A friend calls with drama. Social media shows them someone who's ahead of them. A family member needs help. A new opportunity appears. A doubt creeps in. And slowly, without even realizing it, their attention fragments into 1,000 pieces. Their energy gets distributed across so many things that nothing gets the intensity it needs to actually succeed. This chapter is about taking your power back. It's about protecting your focus like your life depends on it. Because, honestly, your dreams do depend on it. Let me break down the 3 types of distractions that kill more dreams than anything else. First, people who don't believe in you. These are the folks who haven't done anything meaningful themselves, but somehow have endless opinions about what you're trying to do. They disguise their jealousy as concern. They call their doubt being realistic. They claim they're just looking out for you, when really, they're projecting their own fears onto your dreams. Listen carefully. Other people's limited thinking does not have to become your reality. When you tell someone about your goal and they immediately list all the reasons it won't work, that says nothing about your goal. It says everything about their mindset. Winners don't waste energy trying to convince doubters. Winners put their energy into proving themselves right. I want you to think about the 5 people you spend the most time with. Are they pushing you forward or holding you back? Are they celebrating your growth or subtly undermining it? Are they bigger dreamers than you, or are they trying to pull you back down to their level? This isn't about being cruel or cutting people off unnecessarily. This is about being honest about who deserves access to your energy and your dreams. Let me tell you about Rachel. Rachel was working on writing her first novel. She'd wanted to be an author since she was a kid. And finally, in her 30s, she was doing it. She'd wake up at 5 every morning to write before work. She made the mistake of telling her sister about her book. Her sister's response? "You? Writing a book? Come on, Rachel. Be realistic. Do you know how many people try to write books and fail? Besides, you're not even a good writer. Remember those essays in high school?" That conversation almost killed Rachel's dream. For 2 weeks, she didn't write a single word. The doubt her sister planted grew like a weed in her mind. But then Rachel got angry, not at her sister, at herself, for giving someone else's opinion more power than her own belief. She decided right then, no more sharing her dreams with people who didn't have the capacity to dream big themselves. She finished her novel. It got published. It didn't become a bestseller, but that wasn't the point. The point was that Rachel didn't let someone else's limitations become her ceiling. Protect your dreams from people who don't have the vision to understand them. Second, situations that drain you emotionally. This one's tricky because sometimes these situations feel unavoidable. Toxic work environments, dysfunctional relationships, family drama, friend groups that thrive on negativity and gossip. These situations don't just waste your time, they drain your emotional energy. And emotional energy is the fuel you need to pursue your goals. Think about it. Have you ever been in a situation where everything is technically fine, but you're just exhausted all the time? You're not working harder than usual. You're not sleeping less, but you're constantly tired. That's emotional drainage. Maybe it's a friendship where you're always playing therapist, but never receiving support. Maybe it's a relationship where you're walking on eggshells. Maybe it's a job where you're constantly stressed about office politics instead of actually doing work you care about. These situations are like having a leak in your gas tank. Doesn't matter how much fuel you put in, it's all draining out through the leak. You have to make hard decisions here. Sometimes that means setting boundaries. Sometimes it means having difficult conversations. And sometimes it means walking away entirely. I know that's not easy. I know it feels selfish. But here's what nobody tells you. It's not selfish to protect your peace. It's necessary. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot achieve your dreams if you're emotionally bankrupt. And you cannot reach your potential if you're constantly surrounded by situations that drain your spirit. Let me tell you about David. David worked at a company where the culture was toxic. His boss was a micromanager who criticized everything. His coworkers gossiped constantly. Every Sunday night, David would feel his chest tighten thinking about Monday morning. He told himself he was being weak. He told himself every job has challenges. He told himself he should be grateful to have a paycheck. But the truth? That job was destroying him. Not just making him unhappy, actually destroying his confidence, his health, his relationships, his belief in himself. It took him hitting rock bottom, a full anxiety attack in the middle of a meeting, before he realized he had to leave. He didn't have another job lined up. He didn't have a safety net. But he couldn't stay one more day. 6 months later, David had started his own consulting business. Was it scary? Absolutely. Was it uncertain? Definitely. But you know what? He was alive again. The emotional energy he'd been wasting on that toxic environment was now available to build something meaningful. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from situations that are killing you slowly. Third, activities that give you nothing in return. This is where most people lose the game. They're not dealing with toxic people or draining situations. They're just wasting time. Scrolling mindlessly, watching content that doesn't educate or inspire them, engaging in activities that feel good in the moment but leave them empty afterward. 3 hours of TikTok, 4 hours of gaming, 5 hours of Netflix, 2 hours of gossiping. None of these activities move you closer to your goals, not even an inch. And look, I'm not saying you can never relax. I'm not saying entertainment is evil. What I'm saying is that most people give their best hours to distractions and their leftover energy to their dreams. Then they wonder why their dreams never come true. Your time is your most valuable asset. You can make more money. You can make new friends. You can gain more knowledge. But you cannot make more time. Every hour you spend is gone forever. So ask yourself, where is my time actually going? If someone analyzed how I spend my days, would they believe I have big dreams? Would my daily actions reflect my stated goals? For most people, the honest answer is no. Their actions don't match their ambitions. They say they want success, but spend their evenings on things that have nothing to do with success. Here's a powerful exercise. For 1 week, track every hour of your day. Not what you planned to do, what you actually did. Be honest, no judgment, just data. At the end of the week, look at where your time went. How many hours went to activities that move you forward? How many went to activities that keep you stuck? How many were just lost? The results will probably shock you. Most people discover they have way more time than they thought. They're just spending it poorly. Let me tell you about Jennifer. Jennifer wanted to start a side business. She talked about it constantly. She had ideas. She had plans. But somehow, 6 months would go by and she'd made zero progress. She'd say, "I just don't have time. I work full-time. I have responsibilities." Then someone challenged her to track her time for 1 week. Guess what Jennifer discovered? She was spending 28 hours per week watching TV and scrolling social media. 28 hours. If she'd put even half of that time into her business, she could have been up and running in months. But she didn't realize where her time was going because she never measured it. Once she saw the data, she couldn't unsee it. She cut her TV time to 1 hour per day and used the rest to build her business. Within a year, her side business was making enough money for her to quit her job. Time was never the problem. Distraction was the problem. Here's the hard truth. Every minute you spend on something is a minute you're not spending on something else. Every time you say yes to a distraction, you're saying no to your dream. So you have to get ruthless about protecting your time and energy. You have to build a wall around your focus and guard it like your life depends on it. Because it does. Your dream life, your goals, your potential. It all depends on your ability to stay focused in a world designed to distract you. This chapter has one core message. Distance yourself from people who break your focus. Remove yourself from situations that weaken you. And eliminate activities that drain your time without giving you value. When you create distance from distractions, You create space for discipline. And discipline is the weapon that wins every battle toward your dreams. Make a promise to yourself right now. I will distance myself from people who break my focus. I will stay close to things that strengthen my dreams. That one commitment will separate you from the crowd of average people and place you in the line of winners. Chapter 3. Get crystal clear on your goals. All right, let's talk about something that trips up more people than anything else. It's not lack of ability. It's not bad timing. It's not even tough competition. The biggest problem most people face is this. They have no idea where they're actually going. They're busy. They're working hard. They're hustling. But ask them, what exactly are you trying to achieve? Where do you want to be in 5 years? What does success actually look like for you? And you get vague answers. I want to be successful. I want to be happy. I want financial freedom. I want to make a difference. Those aren't goals. Those are wishes. Those are feelings. And you can't build a roadmap to a feeling. Here's what this chapter is really about. If your goal isn't clear, your path will never be clear. You'll wander around forever, working hard but going nowhere. Think about it like this. Imagine you get in your car right now. You start driving. You're going fast. You're focused. You're determined. But you have no destination programmed into your GPS. You have no idea where you're trying to go. How does that trip end? Nowhere. You just burn fuel and waste time. That's what most people are doing with their lives. They're accelerating without direction. They're working without clarity. They're hustling without strategy. And then they wonder why, after years of effort, they're still not where they want to be. Let me tell you about Alex. Smart guy, hard-working, always busy. For 7 years, Alex jumped from opportunity to opportunity. He tried drop shipping because someone on YouTube made it look easy. Didn't work out. So he switched to day trading. That stressed him out, so he tried affiliate marketing. Then he saw someone crushing it with a podcast, so he started one of those. 6 episodes in, he quit because he wasn't getting traction. 7 years, 7 different paths. And at the end of it all, Alex was exactly where he started, frustrated, broke, and confused. The problem wasn't that Alex lacked talent. The problem was that Alex lacked clarity. He didn't have a specific destination. He was just chasing whatever looked shiny in the moment. Then something changed. Alex's father got sick. Suddenly, life got real. Alex realized he'd wasted 7 years because he'd never sat down and actually decided what he wanted to build. So he did something radical. He took an entire weekend. No phone, no internet, no distractions. And he forced himself to answer one question. If I could only pursue one thing for the next 5 years, what would it be? He wrote down everything he was good at, everything he enjoyed, everything the market needed, and he found the overlap, helping small businesses with their marketing. Once Alex had that clarity, everything changed. He stopped chasing trends. He stopped comparing himself to people in completely different industries. He focused everything, and I mean everything, on becoming the best marketing consultant he could be. 3 years later, Alex has a 6-person team and more clients than he can handle. Same person, same work ethic. The only difference? Crystal clear goals. That's the power of clarity. Now, here's what most people get wrong about goal setting. They think setting a goal means writing something down once and then hoping it happens. That's not how this works. Setting a goal means getting so specific that your brain can't wiggle out of it. It means answering these questions. What exactly do I want to achieve? By when do I want to achieve it? Why does this matter to me personally? What am I willing to sacrifice to make this happen? What's the first step I can take today? Let me give you an example. Bad goal. I want to get in shape. Why is that bad? Because it's vague. What does in shape mean? How will you know when you've achieved it? When does this need to happen by? Better goal. I want to lose 20 pounds and be able to run a 5K without stopping by June 15th of this year. See the difference? The second goal is specific, measurable, time-bound. Your brain can work with that. But even that's not enough. You need to know why. Why do you want to lose 20 pounds? Because I want to be healthier is still too vague. Best goal? I want to lose 20 pounds and run a 5K by June 15th because I'm tired of feeling sluggish. I want to have energy to play with my kids, and I refuse to become the unhealthy person I watched my father become. Now we're talking. That goal has emotional weight. It has specificity. It has urgency. That's a goal your brain can lock onto. This chapter teaches us something crucial. A written goal gives your brain direction. It tells your mind, this is where we're going. This is what we're working toward. When you write your goal down, something powerful happens in your brain. It shifts from maybe someday to this is real. It activates your reticular activating system, which is basically your brain's filter for what's important. Have you ever noticed that when you're thinking about buying a certain car, you suddenly see that car everywhere? Your brain isn't creating those cars. They were always there. But now that the car is important to you, your brain filters it in instead of filtering it out. The same thing happens with written goals. Once you write them down and review them regularly, your brain starts noticing opportunities, resources, and ideas that align with those goals. Things you would have missed before suddenly become visible. But here's the part most people skip. You can't just write the goal once and forget about it. You have to engage with it daily. Every morning, read your goals, visualize them, feel what it would feel like to achieve them. Let that feeling fuel your actions for the day. Every evening, review your progress. What did you do today that moved you closer to your goal? What can you do tomorrow? This isn't motivational fluff. This is reprogramming your subconscious mind to work for you instead of against you. Let me tell you about Monica. Monica wanted to write a book. She'd wanted to write a book for 15 years. 15 years of someday I'll do it. Then she went to a seminar where the speaker made everyone write down their goal in excruciating detail. Not just write a book. She had to write, "I will complete a 60,000-word book about overcoming anxiety by December 31st. I will write 500 words per day, 5 days per week. I'm doing this because my anxiety nearly destroyed my life, and I know my story can help others who are struggling. When this book is done, I will self-publish it and give it away for free because the impact matters more than the money." Monica wrote that goal on an index card. She read it every morning while drinking her coffee. She read it every night before bed. Something about seeing that goal twice a day, every single day, changed her brain. On days when she didn't feel like writing, she'd read the card and remember why it mattered. On days when she felt stuck, the card reminded her that 500 words was enough. Just 500 words. 14 months later, Monica's book was done. Not because she became a different person, because she had a crystal clear goal that she engaged with daily. Now, let's talk about something most people don't want to hear. Big goals need to be broken into small steps. A massive goal can be paralyzing. When you look at the entire mountain you need to climb, it's overwhelming. Your brain goes into panic mode and you freeze. But when you break that mountain into small, manageable steps, suddenly it feels possible. Here's how this works. Let's say your goal is to build a business that makes $100,000 per year. That's a big number. It can feel impossible, especially if you're starting from zero. But break it down. $100,000 per year equals $8,333 per month. $8,333 per month equals $2,083 per week. $2,083 per week equals $297 per day. Now, it's not about making $100,000. It's about making $297 today. That feels more doable, right? Break it down further. If you're selling a service for $1,000, you need one client every 3 days. If you're selling a product for $50, you need 6 sales per day. Suddenly, your impossible goal has a specific daily action attached to it. That's powerful. This chapter emphasizes every big goal gets accomplished through small, consistent steps. Dream big, but execute small. Wake up every day thinking, what's the one small step I can take today that moves me closer to my big dream? When you do this, something magical happens. After a few months, you look back and realize you've covered massive ground. You're not where you started. You're not even close. You're on your way. Let me tell you about Carlos. Carlos wanted to become a real estate investor. He had 0 experience and very little money. The goal felt impossible. But Carlos broke it down. He said, "Okay, I can't buy a property today, but I can learn about real estate investing today." So he committed to reading 15 minutes per day about real estate. Just 15 minutes. That was his small step. After 2 weeks, he knew more about real estate than most people. After a month, he started attending local investor meetups. After 3 months, he'd met a mentor who taught him creative financing strategies. After 6 months, he closed his first deal using none of his own money. 1 year later, Carlos owned 3 rental properties, all because he broke an overwhelming goal into a tiny daily action. Read for 15 minutes. Small steps don't feel significant in the moment, but over time, they compound into extraordinary results. Here's another critical piece. Clear goals protect you from distractions. When you know exactly where you're going, the noise doesn't affect you as much. Someone else's success in a different field doesn't make you question your path. Shiny opportunities that don't align with your goal become easier to say no to. Clarity creates focus. Focus creates momentum. Momentum creates results. When your goal is fuzzy, everything looks like an opportunity. When your goal is clear, only the right things look like opportunities. Let me tell you about Priya. Priya wanted to grow her Instagram account, but she had no strategy. She'd post whatever felt right in the moment. Sometimes fitness content, sometimes travel photos, sometimes motivational quotes, sometimes food pics. Her account grew slowly, really slowly. After a year, she had 800 followers and barely any engagement. Then Priya got clear. She decided, I'm building an account specifically for women over 40 who want to get fit without spending hours in the gym. Everything I post will serve that audience. With that clarity, everything changed. She stopped posting random content. She stopped trying to appeal to everyone. She focused on one specific audience with one specific problem. 6 months later, Priya had 15,000 followers. A year later, she was partnering with fitness brands and making money from her content. Same platform, same person. The difference? Crystal clear goals. Now, here's something most people don't think about. Your goal needs to be your goal, not someone else's. A lot of people set goals based on what they think they should want, what would impress other people, what their parents would be proud of, what looks good on paper. But if the goal doesn't align with your actual values and desires, you won't have the fuel to pursue it when things get hard. And things always get hard. You need a goal that matters to you personally, a goal that makes you willing to sacrifice comfort, a goal that gets you out of bed early and keeps you up late. Ask yourself, if nobody would ever know about this achievement, would I still want it? If the answer is no, it's not your goal. It's someone else's goal that you're trying to make yours. Let me tell you about Thomas. Thomas went to law school because his father was a lawyer and his grandfather was a lawyer. Everyone expected Thomas to become a lawyer. He got through law school. He passed the bar. He got a job at a prestigious firm. On paper, everything looked perfect. But Thomas was miserable. He didn't care about law. He never had. He'd pursued it because it was the family expectation. At 32, Thomas made the hardest decision of his life. He quit law and went back to school to become a teacher. His family thought he was insane. His friends didn't understand. He took a massive pay cut. But you know what? Thomas is happy now because he's pursuing his goal, not someone else's. The lesson? Make sure your goals are actually yours. This chapter's main message is this: get so clear on your goal that luck has no choice but to show up at your doorstep. when you have crystal clear goals, when you write them down, when you break them into steps, when you review them daily, when you make sure they're truly yours. That's when everything shifts. Your energy focuses. Your actions align. Your decisions become easier. And slowly but surely, you start moving toward the life you actually want, instead of the life you stumbled into. So right now, I want you to do something. Pause this audiobook, grab a piece of paper, and write down one goal. Not 10, not 5, 1. Make it specific. Make it measurable. Make it time-bound. Make it yours. Then commit to it. Not someday, not when things are perfect, right now. Because clear goals create powerful action, and powerful action creates extraordinary results. Chapter 4. Stop making excuses and start taking action. All right, let's get real for a minute. I need to tell you something that might sting a little, but it's something you need to hear. The only thing standing between you and your goals is the story you keep telling yourself about why you can't achieve them. Read that again. Let it sink in. You know what kills more dreams than anything else in this world? It's not lack of talent. It's not bad circumstances. It's not even bad luck. It's excuses. Excuses are the prison we build for ourselves. And the worst part? We hold the key the entire time. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. The timing isn't right. People won't support me. I don't have the right connections. The economy is bad. I'm too old. I'm too young. I don't have enough experience. You know what all of these are? Stories. Just stories. And stories can be rewritten. Listen, I get it. Some of these things are real challenges. I'm not saying your obstacles don't exist. What I'm saying is that successful people face the same obstacles. They just refuse to let those obstacles become excuses. The person who finds excuses loses opportunities. The person who takes action creates opportunities. Let me tell you about Daniel. Daniel wanted to start a fitness coaching business, but he had a list of excuses a mile long. I don't have certifications. I don't have a big social media following. I don't have money for a website. I don't have clients yet. I don't have a business plan. Notice the pattern? Every excuse started with, I don't have. Daniel spent 2 years talking about starting his business. 2 years of, when I have this, then I'll start. 2 years of waiting for perfect conditions that never came. Then his younger sister did something that changed everything. She called him out. She said, Daniel, you know what you do have? You have knowledge about fitness. You have a transformation story. You have a phone with a camera. That's all you need to start. Everything else is just excuses. That conversation hit Daniel like a truck. She was right. He'd been waiting for permission that nobody was going to give him. He'd been waiting for perfect conditions that don't exist. The next day, Daniel posted a video on Instagram offering free fitness advice. No perfect lighting, no professional equipment, just him, his phone, and his knowledge. One person reached out asking for help. Daniel coached them for free. That person got results and referred 2 friends. Those friends paid. Daniel used that money to get certified. 6 months later, he had 12 paying clients. A year later, he quit his job to coach full-time. What changed? Daniel stopped making excuses and started taking action. Here's what most people don't understand. Action comes before motivation, not after. We think we need to feel motivated before we start. We wait for inspiration to strike. We wait to feel ready. But that's backward. You don't act because you're motivated. You become motivated because you act. Think about it. Have you ever noticed that the hardest part of going to the gym is getting there? Once you're there, once you start moving, it's not that bad. Sometimes it's even enjoyable. The same principle applies to everything. The hardest part is starting. But once you start, momentum builds, energy appears, ideas flow. This chapter teaches something powerful. Action is the antidote to fear. When you sit still, when you overthink, when you wait for the right time, fear grows. It takes over. It convinces you that you can't do it. But the moment you take one step forward, even a small one, fear starts to crack. Your brain shifts from "this is impossible" to "maybe I can actually do this." Let me tell you about Jessica. Jessica wanted to start a podcast, but she was terrified. What if her voice sounded weird? What if nobody listened? What if people criticized her? What if she ran out of things to say? For 6 months, Jessica researched equipment. She planned episodes. She designed cover art. She did everything except the one thing that mattered: recording. Finally, her friend gave her some tough love. "Jessica, your podcast doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to exist. Record 1 episode today. Don't edit it. Don't overthink it. Just record it and upload it." Jessica was terrified, but she did it. She recorded a 15-minute episode in 1 take, uploaded it, and immediately regretted it. She thought it was terrible. But then something happened. 3 people listened. One person left a comment. "This really helped me today. Thank you." That comment changed everything for Jessica. It proved that perfection wasn't the goal. Impact was the goal. And you can't create impact without taking action. 2 years later, Jessica's podcast has over 50,000 downloads per month. But none of that would have happened if she hadn't taken that first imperfect action. Here's the truth. Your first step doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be taken. Most people wait for perfection. They want all their ducks in a row. They want a guarantee that it'll work. They want 0 risk. But life doesn't work that way. You can't steer a parked car. You have to start moving before you can course correct. Successful people understand this. They take imperfect action. They launch before they're ready. They learn by doing, not by planning forever. Let me share something with you. Every single thing I've ever accomplished started with messy, imperfect action. My first video was terrible. Audio was bad, lighting was worse, I stumbled over words. I was so nervous I could barely look at the camera. But I posted it anyway. And you know what? The world didn't end. In fact, people were supportive. They appreciated the effort more than they cared about the production quality. If I'd waited until I was ready, I'd still be waiting. I'd have 0 videos, 0 audience, 0 impact. But because I took imperfect action, I improved. Every video got a little better. Every script got clearer. Every presentation got smoother. That's how growth works. You don't plan your way to excellence. You act your way there. Now, let's talk about another excuse I hear constantly. I don't have time. Let me be blunt. Yes, you do. You just don't prioritize it. Everyone has the same 24 hours. The CEO has 24 hours. The single parent has 24 hours. The student has 24 hours. You have 24 hours. The difference isn't time. The difference is priority. You make time for things that are important to you. You make time to eat. You make time to sleep. You make time to scroll social media for an hour before bed. The question isn't, do you have time? The question is this goal actually important to you? Because if it is, you'll find the time. You'll wake up earlier. You'll use your lunch break. You'll cut out an hour of TV. You'll optimize your commute. But if it's not important, you'll find excuses, and those excuses will sound really reasonable. But they're still excuses. Let me tell you about Marcus. Marcus worked a demanding job, 50 to 60 hours per week. He had a wife and 2 young kids. By any reasonable standard, Marcus was busy. But Marcus also had a dream. He wanted to start a YouTube channel teaching people about personal finance. Everyone told him, "You don't have time for that. You're already stretched thin." Marcus didn't argue. He just looked at his schedule and asked, "Where is my time actually going?" He discovered he was spending about 90 minutes per day scrolling mindlessly on his phone, mostly in the morning while drinking coffee and at night before bed. So Marcus made a trade. Instead of scrolling for 90 minutes, he'd work on his YouTube channel for 90 minutes. That was it. No magic, no dramatic life overhaul. Just a simple swap. Wasted time became productive time. Within a year, Marcus had posted 50 videos. His channel had 10,000 subscribers. 2 years later, he was making enough money from YouTube to quit his job. Did Marcus have time? No, he made time. He swapped low-value activities for high-value activities. That's what winners do. They don't have more time than you. They just use their time better. Here's another excuse that needs to die. I'll start when everything is perfect. Perfect conditions don't exist. They never have. They never will. There will always be something. Some reason to wait, some obstacle to overcome first, some challenge to solve before you begin. But here's the secret successful people know. You don't fix everything and then start. You start and then fix things as you go. Let me tell you about Sophia. Sophia wanted to leave her corporate job and start a consulting business, but she kept waiting for the right time. I'll leave once I have 6 months of expenses saved. Then it became, I'll leave once I have my first client lined up. Then, I'll leave once I finish this big project at work. Then, I'll leave once the economy stabilizes. 5 years passed. 5 years of, I'll start when. Finally, her company restructured and she got laid off. Suddenly, she didn't have the luxury of waiting anymore. She had to start her consulting business immediately. And guess what? She figured it out. She landed her first client within 2 weeks. She adjusted her pricing. She learned as she went. She made mistakes and corrected them. Within 6 months, she was making more than she had at her corporate job. Looking back, Sophia realized something painful. She could have started 5 years earlier. All that time she spent waiting for perfect conditions was wasted. The conditions were never going to be perfect. She just needed to jump. That's the lesson. Waiting for perfect is just another form of procrastination dressed up as preparation. Now, I want to address one more excuse. This one's subtle but deadly. What if I fail? Here's my response. What if you succeed? Why do we always assume the worst-case scenario? Why do we spend so much mental energy imagining failure, but almost no energy imagining success? The truth is, failure isn't the worst outcome. Never trying is the worst outcome. If you try and fail, you learn something. You grow. You gather data. You become more experienced. You're better positioned for your next attempt. But if you never try, you learn nothing. You stay exactly where you are, and years from now, you'll look back and wonder, what if? That what if will haunt you more than any failure ever could. Let me tell you about Ryan. Ryan had an idea for a mobile app. He thought it could really help people. But he was afraid to build it. What if nobody downloads it? What if people hate it? What if I waste months building something that flops? For 2 years, Ryan let fear paralyze him. The app stayed an idea in his head. Then one day, his nephew, a teenager, said something that changed Ryan's perspective. The kid said, "Uncle Ryan, you've been talking about this app forever. Either build it or stop talking about it, because right now you're failing by not trying, which is way worse than trying and failing." Out of the mouths of babes, right? That comment hit Ryan hard. His nephew was right. Ryan had already failed by not launching. He'd failed by letting fear win. So Ryan spent the next 3 months building a basic version of his app. It wasn't perfect. It had bugs. But he launched it anyway. The first version got okay reviews. Some people loved it. Some people found issues. Ryan fixed the issues. He improved based on feedback. He added features. 2 years later, Ryan's app has over 100,000 downloads and makes him a comfortable side income. But more importantly, Ryan proved to himself that he could do it. He conquered the fear that had paralyzed him for years. That's what taking action does. It transforms you from someone who talks about doing things into someone who actually does things. And once you make that transformation, everything changes. This chapter's core message is simple but powerful. If you want to win, you have to start. Right now, this moment, without excuses. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need unlimited resources. You don't need permission from anyone. You just need to take the first step, and then the second, and then the third. Because here's what I know for certain. The universe rewards action. It doesn't reward thinking. It doesn't reward planning. It doesn't reward hoping. It rewards doing. So stop waiting. Stop making excuses. Stop convincing yourself that someday you'll be ready. You're as ready as you're ever going to be. Start now. Because the person who starts imperfectly today will be miles ahead of the person who waits for perfect conditions that never come. Your move. What are you going to do today? Chapter 5. Stop fearing failure because it's your greatest teacher. Let me ask you something. What's the real reason you haven't gone after that big dream yet? Is it really about resources? Is it really about timing? Or is it something deeper? I'll tell you what it is. You're afraid of failing. You're afraid of looking stupid. You're afraid of trying your best and still not being good enough. You're afraid of what people will say when you don't succeed. And listen, I get it. Failure is scary. It's uncomfortable. It feels like proof that maybe you're not capable of what you thought you were. But here's what I need you to understand. Every single person who has achieved anything meaningful has failed. Not once, not twice, multiple times. Sometimes hundreds of times. The difference between people who win and people who don't isn't that winners never fail. It's that winners don't let failure stop them. This chapter is about completely transforming your relationship with failure. Because the moment you stop fearing failure is the moment you become truly unstoppable. Let me tell you about Thomas Edison. Everyone knows Edison invented the light bulb. What most people don't know is that he failed over 1,000 times before he got it right. 1,000 times. When a reporter asked him, how did it feel to fail 1,000 times? Edison responded, I didn't fail 1,000 times. I successfully discovered 1,000 ways that didn't work. See the difference in mindset? Edison didn't view his attempts as failures. He viewed them as data, as learning experiences, as necessary steps on the path to success. That's the mindset shift you need to make. Failure isn't your enemy. Failure is your teacher. It's showing you what doesn't work so you can discover what does. Think about when you were a baby learning to walk. You fell down constantly, dozens of times per day. Did you think, walking isn't for me, I'm just going to crawl forever? No, because you didn't know that falling was failure. You just knew it was part of learning. You'd fall, get back up, and try again. Fall, get back up, try again. Over and over until eventually you figured it out. That's exactly how life works. Fall, learn, rise, repeat. But somewhere along the way, we lose that natural resilience. We become afraid of falling. We start caring what other people think. We begin believing that failure defines us. It doesn't. Failure is an event, not an identity. Let me tell you about Sarah. Sarah was a graphic designer who dreamed of starting her own agency, but she was paralyzed by fear of failure. She'd think, what if clients don't like my work? What if I can't find enough business? What if I have to shut down and go back to being employed? Everyone will think I failed. So Sarah stayed in her comfortable corporate job for 5 years. Safe, stable, miserable. Then her company went through a merger and her position was eliminated. Suddenly, she didn't have a choice. She had to start her own thing or find another corporate job. Sarah decided to take the leap. She started her agency. The first 6 months were rough, really rough. She landed a few small clients, but nothing major. Her first big project? The client hated the initial designs and asked for 3 rounds of revisions. Sarah felt like a failure. But here's where it got interesting. Instead of giving up, Sarah asked for detailed feedback. She wanted to understand exactly what wasn't working and why. The client's feedback revealed that Sarah had misunderstood their brand voice. It wasn't about her skills being bad. It was about her not asking the right questions up front. Sarah learned from that. On her next client project, she spent 3 times as long on discovery and asking questions. The result? The client loved the first draft. That failure taught Sarah more than any course ever could. It showed her where her process was weak. It forced her to improve. 2 years later, Sarah's agency was doing multiple 6 figures annually. But she says that difficult first project was the most valuable experience of her career because it taught her how to truly understand clients. That's what failure does. It shows you exactly where you need to improve. Here's something powerful from this chapter. Fail fast, learn fast, rise fast. The faster you fail, the faster you learn. The faster you learn, the faster you win. Think about it. Would you rather fail once per year and learn slowly? Or fail once per week and learn quickly? Most successful people choose to fail frequently and small, rather than never trying and experiencing one massive failure of never pursuing their dreams. Let me tell you about the difference between 2 entrepreneurs, Kevin and Lisa. Kevin spent 2 years planning his business. He researched everything. He created detailed business plans. He analyzed competitors. He saved up money. He didn't want to make any mistakes. When he finally launched, his product flopped. All that planning. And he'd built something the market didn't actually want. 2 years of preparation, and he had to start over from scratch. Lisa took a different approach. She had an idea and tested it immediately. She built a basic version in 2 weeks and tried to sell it. It didn't work. So she adjusted and tried again. That didn't work either. She adjusted again. Lisa failed 12 times in 6 months. But each failure taught her something specific about what customers actually wanted. By the time Kevin launched his carefully planned business, Lisa had already found product-market fit and was making consistent revenue. Same amount of time, different approaches. Lisa failed fast and small. Kevin tried to avoid failure and ended up failing big. The lesson? Don't be so afraid of failure that you take forever to try. Try quickly, fail quickly, learn quickly, adjust quickly. Now let's talk about something important, the relationship between failure and fear. Fear grows in stillness. When you're sitting around thinking about all the ways something could go wrong, fear expands. It takes over your mind. It paralyzes you. But action shrinks fear. The moment you take a step forward, even if that step leads to failure, fear starts to lose its grip. Why? Because you're proving to yourself that failure isn't fatal. You can survive it. You can learn from it. You can keep going. Let me tell you about Michael. Michael wanted to do stand-up comedy, but he was terrified of bombing on stage. He'd imagine himself telling jokes to silence. He'd picture people walking out. He'd envision becoming the laughingstock of the comedy community. These fears grew so large that Michael didn't perform for 3 years. He'd write jokes. He'd practice in his apartment, but he never got on stage. Finally, a friend challenged him. What's the worst that could actually happen? Michael thought about it. The worst case? He'd tell jokes and nobody would laugh. That's it. Nobody would die. His family wouldn't disown him. The earth wouldn't stop spinning. So Michael signed up for an open mic night. He was terrified. He went on stage. He told his jokes. Some landed, some didn't. Overall, it was okay. Not great, but not the catastrophe he'd imagined. And here's what happened. The moment Michael got off that stage, the fear that had paralyzed him for 3 years evaporated. Because he'd proven that he could survive the thing he was afraid of. Michael kept performing. He got better. Today, he performs at comedy clubs regularly and actually makes money doing it. But none of that would have happened if he'd let fear keep him frozen. This chapter teaches us something critical. You have to reframe what failure means. Most people see failure as proof they're not good enough. Successful people see failure as proof they're in the arena trying. Most people see failure as the end. Successful people see failure as data for the next attempt. Most people hide their failures. Successful people study their failures and share the lessons. Let me tell you about a woman named Joanna. Joanna tried to start 3 different businesses before one finally succeeded. The first one failed because she didn't understand her target market. The second failed because she ran out of money before finding product market fit. The third one also failed because she chose the wrong business partner. Most people would have given up. 3 failures? That's a sign to stop, right? Not to Joanna. To her, those weren't 3 failures. Those were 3 education programs. Each one taught her something crucial. Business 1 taught her to research her market before building. Business 2 taught her to start lean and find revenue early. Business 3 taught her to vet partners carefully and put agreements in writing. When Joanna started business number 4, she applied all 3 lessons. She researched the market first. She started with minimal investment and found paying customers quickly. She chose her partner carefully and set clear expectations. Business number 4 became a 7-figure company within 3 years. Would that have happened without the previous 3 failures? Absolutely not. Those failures weren't setbacks, they were preparation. Here's what you need to understand. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of success. Think about it like this. Imagine success as a destination on a map. Failure isn't taking you away from that destination. Failure is you exploring the territory, finding out which paths don't work so you can eventually find the path that does. Every failure brings you closer to success because it eliminates one more wrong approach. Let me share something personal. I've failed more times than I can count. Businesses that never made money, projects that nobody cared about, ideas that seemed brilliant until reality proved otherwise. For a long time, I was ashamed of those failures. I didn't talk about them. I tried to pretend they never happened. But then I realized something. Those failures were my greatest assets. They taught me things that success never could. They showed me what didn't work, which helped me figure out what does. Now when someone asks for advice, I don't just share my successes, I share my failures. Because the lessons from failure are often more valuable than the lessons from success. Here's another critical insight from this chapter. The fear of failure often causes the exact failure you're trying to avoid. Think about it. When you're so afraid of failure that you don't try, you've already failed. When you're so afraid of rejection that you don't put your work out there, you've guaranteed rejection. The fear creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. But when you embrace failure as a possibility, something interesting happens. You stop playing defense and start playing offense. You take calculated risks. You experiment. You try things. And sometimes those things don't work. But sometimes, more often than you'd expect, they do work. And when they work, you win. But you only get to find out if you're willing to risk failure. Let me tell you about David. David was a talented photographer who never showed his work to anyone. He was afraid people wouldn't like it, afraid of criticism, afraid of being told he wasn't good enough. So his amazing photos sat on his hard drive. Nobody saw them. Nobody benefited from them. David played it safe. Then, one day, his friend said, "David, by not sharing your work, you're guaranteeing that nobody appreciates it. You're creating the exact outcome you're trying to avoid." That hit David hard. He realized his fear of potential rejection was causing actual rejection. His photos were being rejected by everyone because nobody even knew they existed. So David created an Instagram account and started posting his work. The response? Overwhelming. People loved his photography. Within 6 months, he was booking paid shoots. Within a year, he quit his day job to photograph full-time. But none of that happened until he was willing to risk failure. Here's the bottom line. You can't win if you're not willing to lose. You can't succeed if you're not willing to fail. You can't grow if you're not willing to be uncomfortable. Failure isn't something to avoid. It's something to embrace, learn from, and use as fuel for your next attempt. So here's what I want you to do. Think about something you've been afraid to try, something you've avoided because you might fail. Now ask yourself, what's the worst that could actually happen? Really think about it. What's the actual worst-case scenario? In most cases, you'll realize it's not that bad. Embarrassment? You'll survive. Lost time or money? You'll recover. Judgment from others? They'll forget about it and move on. The worst case is rarely as bad as we imagine, but the cost of never trying is guaranteed regret. This chapter's message is clear. Stop running from failure. It's not your enemy. It's your greatest teacher. The most successful people in the world have failed more than most people have tried. That's not despite their success. That's because of their success. So fail forward. Fail fast. Fail often. Learn every single time and keep moving. Because on the other side of your fear of failure is everything you've ever wanted. Chapter 6. Consistency beats intensity every single time. All right, let's talk about the real secret to success. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not even hard work, exactly. It's consistency. And I know that sounds boring. Consistency doesn't sell. Intensity sells. We love stories about people who worked 20-hour days for a week and became overnight successes. We love dramatic transformations and rapid results. But that's not how real success works. Real success is built through consistent, unglamorous, often boring daily action. It's showing up every single day, even when you don't feel like it, even when nobody's watching, even when results seem far away. This chapter is about understanding why consistency is more powerful than intensity and how to build it into your life. Let me start with a question. Would you rather work out intensely for 5 hours once, or work out for 30 minutes every day for a month? The intense 5-hour session might feel more impressive, but the 30 minutes per day will transform your body. Why? Because your body doesn't respond to dramatic one-time efforts. It responds to repeated stimulus over time. That's how adaptation works. That's how growth happens. The same principle applies to everything in life. One intense day of studying doesn't make you educated. Studying a little bit every day for years makes you educated. One intense networking event doesn't build a powerful network. Consistent relationship building over time builds a powerful network. One viral post doesn't build a brand. Consistent, valuable content over months and years builds a brand. Intensity fades. Consistency compounds. Let me tell you about two people, Jake and Emma. Both wanted to build their YouTube channels. Jake went all in. He took a week off work and produced 15 videos in 7 days. He was exhausted by the end, but he'd created a huge batch of content. He uploaded all 15 videos, promoted them, and waited for his channel to blow up. It didn't. Some videos got decent views. Most got very few. After his initial burst, Jake burned out. He didn't post again for 3 months. Then he did another intense burst. Then another long gap. A year later, Jake had about 40 videos and 500 subscribers. He was frustrated and about ready to quit. Emma took a different approach. She committed to posting 1 video per week. Every single week, no exceptions. Some weeks she was busy. Some weeks she wasn't feeling inspired. Some weeks her videos weren't great, but she posted anyway. A year later, Emma had 52 videos and 8,000 subscribers. Her channel was growing steadily. But more importantly, her skills had improved dramatically because she'd practiced 52 times instead of 40. Same goal, different approaches. Emma won because she understood that consistency beats intensity. Now, here's what makes consistency so powerful: compound growth. When you do something once, you get linear results. When you do something consistently over time, you get exponential results. Think about it like this. If you improve 1% every day for a year, you don't end up 365% better. You end up 37 times better. That's the power of compound growth. But compound growth only works if you show up consistently. Miss too many days, and you lose the compounding effect. Let me tell you about Marcus. Marcus wanted to become a better writer. He read that professional writers write every day, so he committed to writing 500 words per day. Some days, those 500 words flowed easily. Other days, he had to force every single word out. Some days, what he wrote was good. Other days, it was garbage. But Marcus showed up every single day. 500 words, no excuses. After 30 days, Marcus had written 15,000 words. Not all of it was usable, but he'd formed a habit. After 90 days, Marcus noticed his writing was getting better. The words came easier. His thoughts were clearer. The quality was improving. After 6 months, Marcus had written 90,000 words, more than enough for a full book. But more importantly, he'd transformed from someone who wanted to be a writer into someone who was a writer. After a year, Marcus had written 180,000 words. He'd completed his first book and started his second. Publishers were interested. His writing had become a legitimate skill, all because he showed up consistently for 500 words per day. That's the power of consistency. Small actions, repeated over time, create massive results. But here's the hard truth. Consistency is difficult. Really difficult. Day 1 is easy. You're motivated. You're excited. You have momentum. Day 7 is still manageable. The novelty hasn't worn off completely. Day 30 is where it gets hard. The excitement has faded. Results aren't dramatic yet. The daily grind feels tedious. Day 90 is where most people quit. They've been doing the work, but they don't feel transformed yet. They wonder if it's worth it. They look for faster paths. This is where winners separate from quitters. Winners push through. They understand that the results are coming, even if they can't see them yet. Let me tell you about the bamboo tree. When you plant a bamboo seed, You water it and care for it every single day. For the first year, you see nothing, no growth above ground. Second year, still nothing. Third year, nothing. Fourth year, still nothing above ground. Most people would give up. 5 years of watering and caring for something that shows no visible results? That seems like a waste. But in the 5th year, something incredible happens. The bamboo tree grows 90 feet in just 6 weeks. Did the tree grow 90 feet in 6 weeks? No, it was growing the entire 5 years, just underground, building a massive root system strong enough to support 90 feet of growth. That's exactly how your consistent effort works. You're building roots. You're creating a foundation. And when the growth finally becomes visible, it'll happen faster than you ever imagined. But only if you don't quit during the invisible growth phase. Here's another critical insight. Consistency builds identity. Every time you show up and do the thing you committed to, you're casting a vote for the type of person you want to become. Want to become a writer? Every day you write is a vote for I am a writer. Want to become fit? Every day you exercise is a vote for I am someone who is fit. Want to become successful? Every day you work toward your goals is a vote for I am someone who achieves success. Your identity isn't built by what you say. It's built by what you consistently do. Let me tell you about Rachel. Rachel wanted to lose weight. She tried everything. Intense workout programs, extreme diets. She'd go hard for 2 weeks, lose a few pounds, then burn out and gain it back. This cycle repeated for years. Rachel would tell people, "I'm trying to lose weight." But she never actually saw herself as someone who was fit. Then Rachel changed her approach. Instead of intense bursts, she committed to walking for 20 minutes every single day. That's it, just a walk. Some days she'd walk fast, other days slow. Some days in beautiful weather, other days in rain. But every single day she walked. After 3 months, Rachel had walked 90 times. She started seeing herself differently. She'd think, "I'm the kind of person who walks every day." That identity shift changed everything. Because now, choosing healthy foods wasn't a sacrifice. It's just what people who walk every day do. Drinking more water wasn't a chore. It's what fit people do. Rachel's identity had shifted from someone trying to lose weight to someone who lives a healthy lifestyle. The weight loss followed naturally. But more importantly, it stuck. Because it wasn't based on intense, temporary effort, it was based on consistent identity-level change. That's the power of consistency. It changes who you are, not just what you do. Now, let's talk about how to actually build consistency when motivation fades. Because here's the reality. You won't always feel motivated. Some days you'll want to quit. Some days you'll feel like your efforts are pointless. Some days you'll just be tired. That's normal. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are unreliable. You can't build a life based on feelings. You have to build it on systems and habits. Here's how. First, make it small. Don't commit to writing for 2 hours per day if you've never written consistently before. Commit to 10 minutes. Make it so small that you can't say no. The goal isn't to do a lot. The goal is to show up. Once showing up becomes automatic, you can increase the volume. Second, remove friction. If you want to work out in the morning, lay out your workout clothes the night before. If you want to write every day, have your laptop open to a blank document. If you want to eat healthy, prep your meals in advance. Make the right choice the easy choice. Third, track it. Get a calendar and mark an X every day you do the thing you committed to. Don't break the chain. The visual representation of your streak becomes motivation itself. There's something powerful about seeing a long chain of X's. Breaking it feels wrong. Continuing it feels right. Fourth, focus on process, not results. Don't measure your success by outcomes you can't fully control. Measure it by whether you showed up and did the work. You can't control if your video goes viral, but you can control if you posted a video this week. You can't control if you got the promotion, but you can control if you did your best work. You can't control if you lost 2 pounds this week, but you can control if you stuck to your exercise plan. Focus on what you can control, your consistent effort. Let me tell you about James. James wanted to build a successful podcast. He set a goal, 1 million downloads in the first year. For 6 months, James worked his tail off. He posted every week. He promoted aggressively. He improved his content. But his numbers grew slowly. After 6 months, he had 50,000 downloads total. James felt like a failure. He was nowhere close to his 1 million download goal. He almost quit. But then a mentor told him, "Stop measuring your success by downloads. Measure it by whether you published an episode this week. That's what you can control." James shifted his mindset. Instead of obsessing over numbers, he focused on consistency. Did he publish this week? Yes, that's a win. The crazy thing? Once James stopped obsessing over results and focused on process, his podcast actually grew faster. Why? Because he wasn't stressed. He was focused on making each episode better, not on hitting arbitrary numbers. 2 years later, James's podcast had over 3 million total downloads. He hit his goal, just not on his timeline. But he only got there because he stayed consistent, even when results were slow. Here's the final truth about consistency. It's not sexy. It's not exciting. It doesn't make for great stories, but it works. The people you admire didn't get there through one brilliant move. They got there through 1,000 small moves, repeated over years. The successful author didn't write one perfect book. They wrote every day for a decade. The fit person didn't have one great workout. They showed up to the gym thousands of times. The wealthy entrepreneur didn't make one brilliant deal. They worked on their business every single day for years. Consistency is the unsexy secret behind every impressive result. So here's my challenge to you. Pick one thing. just one, something that will move you toward your goal. Commit to doing that one thing every single day for the next 90 days. Not when you feel like it, every day. Not perfectly, just consistently. Mark it on a calendar, track your streak, protect it, and watch what happens. Because 90 days of consistency will take you further than 9 years of intensity ever could. Remember, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to do a lot. You just have to show up every single day. That's how you win. Chapter 7. Believe in yourself because no one else's belief matters more. Let me tell you something that might sound harsh, but it's the truth. The world will only believe in you as much as you believe in yourself. Think about that for a second. Really think about it. You can have all the talent in the world. You can have the perfect plan. You can have every resource you need. But if you don't believe in yourself, none of it matters. Because you'll sabotage yourself before you even get started. Self-belief isn't some fluffy motivational concept. It's the foundation of everything. It's the difference between someone who tries once and quits and someone who tries 100 times until they succeed. Most people don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they lack belief in that ability. Let me tell you about two people with identical circumstances, Michelle and Jennifer. Both got laid off from their jobs on the same day. Both had the same amount of savings. Both had similar skills and experience. Michelle's response: "This is terrible. Who's going to hire me? The job market is tough. I'm not that special. I'll probably end up taking whatever I can get." Jennifer's response: "This is an opportunity. I'm good at what I do. Someone will recognize that value. I'm going to find something even better." Same situation, completely different beliefs about themselves. 6 months later, Michelle was still struggling to find work, taking contract gigs that paid less than her previous job. She'd go into interviews already defeated, already assuming they wouldn't want her. And guess what? They didn't. Jennifer landed a job that paid 30% more than her previous position. She went into every interview believing she was the solution to their problems. And that confidence came through. Multiple companies wanted to hire her. Same skills, same market, different beliefs, different results. That's the power, or the curse, of self-belief. Here's what most people don't understand. Your beliefs create your reality. Not in some mystical law of attraction way, in a very practical, psychological way. When you believe you can do something, your brain looks for evidence to support that belief. You notice opportunities. You take chances. You persist when things get hard. When you believe you can't do something, your brain looks for evidence to support that belief too. You notice obstacles. You avoid risks. You quit at the first sign of difficulty. Your beliefs literally filter what you see and how you respond to it. Let me tell you about a famous study. Researchers took a group of students and randomly divided them into 2 groups. They told one group of teachers, "These students are gifted. They're going to excel this year." They told another group of teachers, "These students are average. Don't expect too much." The students were actually randomly assigned. There was no real difference between the groups. But by the end of the year, the gifted students performed significantly better. Why? Because the teachers believed they would, so they gave them more attention, more challenging work, more encouragement. And the students internalized that belief and rose to meet it. The average students performed worse. Why? Because their teachers expected less, challenged them less, and the students internalized that too. Same kids, different beliefs about them, different outcomes. Now apply that to yourself. If you believe you're average, you'll unconsciously behave in ways that produce average results. If you believe you're capable of greatness, you'll unconsciously behave in ways that produce extraordinary results. Your beliefs about yourself are either the ceiling that limits you or the foundation that launches you. So the question isn't, am I capable? The question is, do I believe I'm capable? And here's the beautiful part. Belief is a choice. It's not something you're born with, it's something you build. Let me tell you about Robert. Robert grew up in a household where he was constantly criticized. His father would say things like, "You'll never amount to anything. You're lazy. You're not smart enough." Those messages got internalized. By the time Robert was in his 20s, he genuinely believed he was inferior to everyone around him. He'd see opportunities and think, "That's not for someone like me." He'd stay in jobs he hated because he didn't believe he deserved better. He'd avoid challenges because he assumed he'd fail. Then Robert went to therapy. His therapist asked him a powerful question. Where's the evidence for these beliefs? Robert started listing reasons. My dad said I wasn't smart. I didn't do well in school. I've never succeeded at anything big. His therapist pushed back. Is that evidence? Or is that just one person's opinion and a series of situations where you didn't believe in yourself enough to really try? That question cracked something open in Robert. He realized his entire self-concept was based on someone else's opinion from decades ago and his own self-fulfilling prophecies. So Robert decided to conduct an experiment. He decided to act as if he believed in himself, even though he didn't yet. Fake it till you make it, basically. He applied for a promotion he didn't think he'd get. He got it. He asked someone out he thought was out of his league. She said yes. He started a side project he assumed would fail. It succeeded. Each small success chipped away at the old belief system. Each small win built new evidence that maybe, just maybe, he was more capable than he'd given himself credit for. 5 years later, Robert is unrecognizable. He runs his own business. He's confident. He believes in himself. What changed? Not his actual abilities, his beliefs about his abilities. That's the transformation available to you too. Now, let's talk about something critical: the relationship between self-belief and external validation. Most people have this backward. They think, once I succeed, then I'll believe in myself. Once people validate me, then I'll be confident. But that's not how it works. Success doesn't create self-belief. Self-belief creates success. You have to believe first, then the results follow. Think about every person you admire: athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, leaders. They all believed in themselves before anyone else did. They had to, because the world doesn't hand out belief. You have to generate it yourself. Let me tell you about Sylvester Stallone. Before Rocky, Stallone was broke, struggling actor, living in his car at times. He wrote the Rocky screenplay in 3 days because he was desperate. When he shopped the script around Hollywood, studios loved it. They wanted to buy it. But they wanted a real star to play Rocky. They offered Stallone huge money just for the script. He said no. He insisted on playing Rocky himself. The studios thought he was crazy. You're a nobody. You can't lead a major film. Take the money and let us. Cast someone bankable. Stallone refused. He believed he was Rocky. He believed he could carry the film, even though he had zero evidence at that point. He took a massive risk. He could have taken the money and secured his financial situation. Instead, he bet on himself. Rocky became one of the most successful films of all time. It won Best Picture. It launched Stallone's career. It created a franchise that's still going today. But none of that happens if Stallone doesn't believe in himself first, before anyone else did. That's what self-belief looks like. It's believing when you have no proof. It's betting on yourself when everyone else doubts you. Here's another story. Oprah Winfrey. Early in her career, Oprah was told she was unfit for television news. She got demoted. She was told she was too emotional, too involved with her subjects. Most people would have internalized that. I guess I'm not good enough for TV. But Oprah didn't believe that. She believed her emotional connection was her strength, not her weakness. She believed there was a place for her authentic style. So she kept going. She eventually got her own talk show. And that emotional, authentic style that was supposedly unfit for television became the exact thing that made her the most successful talk show host in history. Oprah believed in herself when the industry didn't. And that self-belief changed everything. Now let's talk about how to actually build self-belief, especially if you're starting from a place of doubt. First, understand this. Self-belief is built through evidence. But you have to look for the right evidence. Most people with low self-belief only notice their failures. They keep a mental catalog of every time they messed up, every time they fell short, every time someone criticized them. But they completely ignore their successes. They dismiss their wins as luck or flukes. You need to reverse that pattern. Start keeping a success journal. Every day, write down 3 things you did well. They don't have to be huge. Maybe you had a difficult conversation. Maybe you stuck to your morning routine. Maybe you helped someone. Maybe you learned something new. Write them down. Accumulate evidence of your capability. Over time, you'll build a mental database of, I am someone who does things well, instead of, I am someone who fails. Let me tell you about Patricia. Patricia had terrible self-esteem. She'd been in an emotionally abusive relationship for years. and it destroyed her confidence. After leaving that relationship, Patricia started therapy. Her therapist gave her an assignment. Every night before bed, write down 3 things you accomplished that day and 3 qualities you demonstrated. Patricia thought it was stupid. I don't accomplish anything. I don't have good qualities. But she did it anyway. Day 1. I got out of bed. I went to work. I made dinner. Qualities. I was responsible. I was persistent. I was functional. It felt forced, but she kept doing it. After a month, something shifted. Patricia started noticing more things she was doing well. I spoke up in a meeting. I helped a coworker. I finished a project ahead of schedule. Qualities. I was brave. I was helpful. I was efficient. After 6 months, Patricia's journal was full. Hundreds of accomplishments. Hundreds of positive qualities. When her old negative thoughts would come up, "You're worthless. You can't do anything right," Patricia could literally open her journal and see pages of evidence that those thoughts were lies. Her self-belief didn't come from positive affirmations or fake confidence. It came from real evidence that she collected herself. That's how you build genuine self-belief. Not through empty mantras, but through accumulated proof. Here's another key. Surround yourself with people who believe in you. You know how some people drain your belief in yourself? They're always skeptical, always pointing out why things won't work, always reminding you of your past failures. Those people are toxic to your self-belief. You need to limit your exposure to them. Instead, find people who see your potential, who believe in you even when you don't fully believe in yourself yet, who reflect back to you a version of yourself that's capable and strong. Let me tell you about Derek. Derek wanted to start a nonprofit helping homeless veterans, but he had no experience in nonprofit work, no connections, no funding. His family thought he was being naive. "You have no idea what you're doing. This is going to fail. You should stick to your day job." Their doubt was contagious. Derek started doubting himself, too. Then Derek met a mentor at a networking event. This man had started several successful nonprofits. Derek told him about his idea, expecting more skepticism. Instead, the mentor said, "That's a great idea. Veterans need more support. You can absolutely do this. Here's what you need to know." That one conversation changed everything for Derek. Someone he respected believed in his idea, believed in him. The mentor became Derek's advisor. He introduced Derek to donors. He shared his knowledge. He believed in Derek when Derek's belief wavered. 5 years later, Derek's nonprofit has helped over 2,000 veterans. It's thriving. Derek says, "I wouldn't have made it without my mentor's belief in me. In the beginning, I borrowed his belief until I developed my own." That's powerful. Sometimes you need to borrow someone else's belief in you until yours is strong enough to stand on its own. Find those people. They're out there. Now let's address something uncomfortable. The inner voice that tears you down. Everyone has it. That voice that says, "Who do you think you are? You're not special. You're going to fail. People will laugh at you." That voice is not the truth. It's fear. It's past programming. It's society's doubt internalized. You don't have to believe it. Here's what I want you to understand. That negative voice isn't protecting you. It's holding you back. It disguises itself as realism, as self-protection. I'm just being practical. I'm managing expectations. But really, it's fear trying to keep you small because small feels safe. Let me tell you about Amanda. Amanda wanted to write a book. Every time she sat down to write, a voice in her head would say, "This is garbage. No one will read this. You're not a real writer. Who gave you permission to think you could write a book?" That voice was so strong that Amanda would delete what she wrote and give up. Then Amanda's therapist taught her a technique. Externalize the voice. Give it a name. Treat it as separate from yourself. Amanda named her inner critic Carol. Now when the voice showed up, Amanda would think, "Oh, that's just Carol. She's scared. But she doesn't get to make decisions for me." It sounds silly, but it worked. By externalizing the voice, Amanda could separate it from her true self. She didn't have to believe Carol. She could acknowledge the fear and write anyway. Thanks for your input, Carol. I'm writing anyway. Amanda finished her book. It got published. It sold thousands of copies. Carol was wrong. That inner critic is always going to be there. But you don't have to let it drive the car. You can hear it, acknowledge it, and do the thing anyway. Here's the ultimate truth about self-belief. It's not about being delusional. It's not about ignoring reality or pretending you're perfect. It's about believing that you're capable of growth, that you can learn, that you can improve, that you're worthy of success. It's about believing that even if you don't have all the answers right now, you can figure them out. It's about believing that your past doesn't define your future. It's about believing that you deserve to pursue your dreams just as much as anyone else does. That's the belief you need. Not, "I'm already perfect," but "I'm capable of becoming who I want to be." Let me tell you about the difference between fixed mindset and growth mindset. This is research from psychologist Carol Dweck. Fixed mindset says, "I am who I am. My abilities are set. If I fail, it proves I'm not capable." Growth mindset says, "I am who I am right now. My abilities can be developed. If I fail, it means I haven't learned the lesson yet." People with fixed mindsets protect their ego by avoiding challenges. If you never try, you never fail, right? So you can preserve the belief that you could do it if you wanted to. People with growth mindsets embrace challenges. Failure doesn't threaten their identity because they see themselves as works in progress. Which mindset do you think creates more success? Obviously, the growth mindset. Because those people try more things, learn faster, and persist longer. And here's the beautiful part. Mindset is a choice. You can decide right now to adopt a growth mindset. Instead of, "I'm not good at this," say, "I'm not good at this yet." Instead of, "I failed," say, "I learned something valuable." Instead of, "This is too hard." Say, "This will take effort, and I'm willing to put in that effort." That shift in language reflects a shift in belief. And that shift in belief changes everything. Let me share one final story. This one's about a guy named Nick. Nick was in his 40s, overweight, unhappy with his life. He'd convinced himself it was too late to change. "I'm too old. My metabolism is shot. I've been this way too long. Change isn't possible for me." Then Nick's doctor told him he was pre-diabetic. Change or face serious health consequences. Nick decided to try one more time, but this time he approached it differently. Instead of, "I'm trying to lose weight," which implies he didn't believe he could, he said, "I'm becoming a healthy person." That language shift changed how he saw himself. He wasn't someone trying and failing. He was someone in the process of transformation. He started small, walking every day, cutting out soda, going to bed earlier. Every time that old voice said, "You can't do this," Nick would respond, "I'm literally doing it right now." 2 years later, Nick had lost 70 pounds. He ran his first 5K. His diabetes risk was gone. But more importantly, Nick believed in himself for the first time in decades. And that belief transformed not just his health, but his entire life. He went back to school. He started a business. He became the person he'd always been capable of being, because he finally believed he could be that person. That's what's available to you. That transformation, that belief, that life. But it starts with a decision to believe in yourself even when you don't have proof yet, even when people doubt you, even when the path isn't clear. Because here's what I know for certain. You are capable of so much more than you think you are. You have strengths you haven't discovered yet. You have potential you haven't tapped into. But none of that matters if you don't believe it. So believe it. Choose to believe it. Build evidence for it. Surround yourself with people who reflect it back to you. Silence the voice that tells you you can't. Because the world will only believe in you as much as you believe in yourself. And once you truly believe in yourself, there's nothing you can't accomplish. The deeper truth, your internal compass. Now that we've talked about believing in yourself, I want to go deeper. Because self-belief isn't just about confidence, it's about knowing yourself so well that external noise can't shake you. Most people live their entire lives without ever developing this internal compass. They're constantly looking outside themselves for direction, for validation, for permission. What do you think I should do? Is this a good idea? Do you think I can do it? They need other people to tell them they're on the right path. And when those people express doubt, their entire foundation crumbles. But people who win? They have an internal compass. They know what they want. They know what matters to them. They know what they're capable of. And when the world tries to tell them otherwise, they don't budge. Let me tell you about Maria. Maria was an engineer at a tech company. Good job, good pay, good benefits. Everyone thought she had it made. But Maria was miserable. She didn't care about software. She cared about environmental conservation. That's what lit her up. That's what she thought about constantly. For 5 years, Maria ignored that pull, because everyone told her she'd be crazy to leave engineering. You have a great career. Don't throw it away to chase some tree-hugging dream. But that internal compass kept pointing in the same direction. She couldn't ignore it anymore. So Maria quit. She took a massive pay cut to work for an environmental nonprofit. Her family thought she'd lost her mind. Her friends didn't understand. But Maria knew. She had this deep internal knowing that this was her path, regardless of what anyone else thought. 10 years later, Maria runs her own environmental consulting firm. She advises governments on sustainability. She loves her work. She makes good money doing what matters to her. She says, "The best decision I ever made was learning to trust my internal compass more than other people's opinions." That's the level of self-belief you need to cultivate. Not just, "I think I can do this," but "I know this is right for me, and no amount of external doubt will change that." How do you develop that? By spending time with yourself. By asking yourself hard questions and being honest about the answers. By testing your beliefs and seeing what holds up. Most people never do this. They adopt beliefs from their parents, their culture, their friend group, and never question if those beliefs actually align with who they are. But winners question everything. They examine their beliefs. They keep what serves them and discard what doesn't. Let me give you an exercise. Take out a piece of paper and write down all the beliefs you have about what success looks like. Now ask yourself, where did each belief come from? Did I choose it, or did I absorb it from someone else? For example, maybe you believe success means having a high-paying corporate job. But do you actually believe that? Or did your parents believe that and you just adopted it? Maybe you believe success means getting married and having kids by 30. But do you actually want that? Or is that just society's timeline? Maybe you believe success means being famous or respected or wealthy. But do those things actually matter to you? Or are they just what you think you're supposed to want? This kind of examination is uncomfortable because sometimes you realize you've been chasing goals that aren't even yours. But that discomfort is necessary because once you clear away other people's beliefs and get to your core truth, you become unshakable. Let me tell you about Jason. Jason was pursuing a medical degree because his immigrant parents sacrificed everything for him to have that opportunity. But Jason hated it. He didn't want to be a doctor. He wanted to be a chef. For years, Jason felt torn. He felt guilty for not wanting what his parents wanted for him. He felt selfish for even considering his own desires. Then Jason had a realization. He could honor his parents' sacrifice by being excellent at something he loved, rather than being miserable at something they chose. He decided to leave medical school. The conversation with his parents was brutal. They felt betrayed. They couldn't understand. But Jason knew his truth, and he stuck to it. Today, Jason owns 3 restaurants. He's successful by any metric. And you know what? His parents eventually came around. They saw how happy he was. They saw that he'd succeeded on his own terms. But even if they hadn't, Jason would still know he made the right choice. Because he was living in alignment with his internal compass. That's the kind of self-belief that changes lives. Not the surface level, "I think I can do it," but the deep, unshakable, "I know who I am and what I'm here to do." Now, let's talk about something related, the difference between confidence and arrogance. Some people here believe in yourself and interpret that as think you're better than everyone else. That's not what we're talking about. Confidence is quiet. It doesn't need to prove itself. It doesn't need to tear others down. Confidence says, I know what I'm capable of, and I don't need your validation. Arrogance is loud. It's insecure. It needs constant validation. Arrogance says, I'm better than you, and I need you to acknowledge that. Real self-belief is rooted in humility. It's acknowledging that you don't know everything, that you have room to grow, but also knowing that you're capable of that growth. Let me tell you about two CEOs, Richard and Tom. Richard was arrogant. He'd walk into meetings and tell everyone how successful he was. He'd name drop. He'd talk over people. He'd take credit for other people's work. He needed everyone to know he was the smartest person in the room. Tom was confident. He'd walk into meetings and listen more than he talked. He'd ask questions. He'd give credit to his team. He didn't need to prove anything because he knew his track record spoke for itself. Which CEO do you think people wanted to work with? Which one built a company that thrived? Tom. Every time. Because real confidence attracts. Arrogance repels. When you believe in yourself in a genuine way, you don't need to convince others. They see it in how you carry yourself. They feel it in how you approach challenges. They hear it in how you speak about your work. That's the kind of self-belief that creates lasting success. Here's another critical piece. Self-belief requires self-compassion. A lot of people think believing in yourself means being hard on yourself, pushing yourself constantly, never accepting anything less than perfection. But that's not sustainable. That leads to burnout. That creates anxiety and self-hatred. Real self-belief includes accepting that you're human, that you'll make mistakes, that you'll have bad days, that you'll fail sometimes, and that's okay. Let me tell you about Lauren. Lauren was a perfectionist. She believed in her goals, but she was brutal with herself. Every small mistake felt like evidence that she was a failure. She'd beat herself up constantly. Why did I do that? I should know better. I'm so stupid. I'll never succeed if I keep making these mistakes. That internal dialogue was destroying her. She was successful by external measures, but internally, she was falling apart. Then Lauren's therapist taught her about self-compassion, the idea that you can acknowledge your mistakes without attacking yourself, that you can strive for excellence while accepting your humanity. Lauren started practicing self-compassion. When she made a mistake, instead of, "I'm so stupid," she'd think, "That didn't work. What can I learn from this?" Instead of, "I'll never succeed," she'd think, "This is challenging, but I'm capable of figuring it out." That shift changed everything. Lauren's anxiety decreased. Her performance improved. She still had high standards, but she wasn't destroying herself trying to meet them. Self-compassion isn't about lowering your standards. It's about treating yourself like you'd treat a friend who's trying their best. Would you tell a friend they're worthless because they made a mistake? No. You'd encourage them. You'd help them learn. You'd remind them of their strengths. Do that for yourself. Real self-belief includes believing you're worthy of kindness, especially from yourself. All right, let's bring this chapter home. Self-belief is the foundation of everything. Without it, all the talent, all the resources, all the opportunities in the world won't help you. But with it, you become unstoppable. You take chances. You persist through failure. You ignore the doubters. You trust your internal compass. You build a life that's authentically yours. So, how do you build it? You collect evidence of your capability through a success journal. You surround yourself with people who believe in you. You silence the negative inner voice by externalizing it and refusing to let it control you. You adopt a growth mindset that sees challenges as opportunities and failures as lessons. You develop your internal compass by examining your beliefs and keeping only what truly aligns with who you are. You practice self-compassion, so your belief is sustainable and not rooted in harsh self-criticism. And most importantly, you make a choice. You decide that you believe in yourself even before you have all the proof, especially before you have all the proof. Because belief comes first, results follow, not the other way around. So right now, I want you to make a commitment. Say it out loud if you can. I believe in myself. I believe in my ability to grow. I believe I'm worthy of success. I believe in my potential even when others doubt me. I believe in myself. Say it. Mean it. Return to it every time doubt creeps in. Because the world is waiting for the version of you that fully believes in yourself. And once you become that person, there's nothing you can't achieve.